Everybody. In this video, we're going to have a brief introduction to the interface inside of Photoshop. So let's get going. Once you have Photoshop up and running, I'd like for you to open a new file by coming up to the upper left-hand corner and choosing New File. You'll be presented with several new sizes that you can choose from. And each one of these items up here, these are really tabs. So, if you just click through them, you'll see different layout sizes and that kind of thing. For our purposes inside of this particular class, we're going to choose a web document. And the reason why is because it has the most common web sizing that's available. And I want you to take a look at something right here. I want you to notice this. This says 72 points per inch. Web graphics are delivered to viewers at 72 points per inch. Print graphics are delivered at 300 points per inch. And the reason for that difference is because print graphics, they really have to have the ink covering every bit of the paper that is going to be printed on. For web graphics, we can get away with a little bit lighter. But what we really need is something that is delivered quickly and easily over the internet. If you have a really large image size like the 300 ppi, that's not going to be rendered quickly on a website. It will make the website slow. So we use 72 ppi and that seems to work pretty well. Okay, once you have that, come over to the right-hand side. You've got a couple of things that you can choose here. We can choose, these are our layouts. This is portrait and this is landscape layout, okay? Portrait and landscape. Color mode, you'll notice that I've got RGB colors selected, but you do have other options if you choose your other guys over here, like CMYK. You're gonna leave it set to 8-bit, and background contents can be set to white. But you also have different options as well here. You can choose black, a kind of background color, or you can also choose transparent. I'm going to leave it set to white for now. With these, the color profile, don't worry about it because we're not going to get that in depth in it in this particular class. And leave the pixel aspect ratio set to square pixels, please. And then click Create. Now, once you have your artboard here, you may want to make this a little bit larger. To zoom in on the artboard, there are a couple of ways to do this. You can go up to the View menu, and you can choose to enlarge it that way. You can come down here to the bottom, lower left-hand corner, and you can do something like 125%. I'm just typing it in down at the bottom. You can also use the zoom features in your keyboard, which are Command+ to zoom in on a Mac. On a PC, that it's going to be Control+. To zoom out, it would be the opposite. It would be Command- on a Mac and Control- on a PC. So I'm going to hit Command+, and I'm going to leave that there. That looks pretty good. If you want to move the artboard around like this, what you do is you hold down your space bar and then you'll notice that your cursor changed to a hand and just move it around where you want it to be. On the left-hand side of your screen, these are the tools that Photoshop is famous for. The one you'll work a lot with is the Move tool. There are different selection tools, the Crop tool, a Frame tool, which is kind of fun. We can explore that in a different course. Some healing tools, the healing brush tool, and there's some things underneath it. If you see a little diamond in the lower right-hand corner, that means that some tools have been hidden underneath what you see on top. So you just click and hold, and that will reveal the rest of the tools for you. If there's a particular tool that you cannot find, come down to these 3 ellipses where it says Edit Toolbar and click and hold again. And then I'm going to release on Edit Toolbar And this is where you can add extra things. Okay? Now this one's kind of fun. If you use a tablet to interface with Photoshop, Rotate View becomes very, very handy. The nice thing about this customized toolbar is that you're also going to see all of the keyboard shortcuts listed on the right-hand side here. I find that that is super, super useful. You'll notice that these three guys have L for their keyboard shortcut. So what happens when you press L the first time, you get the lasso tool. When you press it the second time, you'll get the polygonal lasso tool. And then the third time, obviously, you get the magnetic lasso tool. But that works for pretty much any of these. When you have one particular letter, press it again to cycle through all of the things that are underneath there. Okay, so over here on the left side, again, there's your magnifying tool. Okay, you can use that if you wish. Your hand tool, remember hand tool drags around. Down at the very bottom here, these are two color swatches. The one on the top is your foreground color. The one on the back is the background color. Sometimes you'll need to switch between these two and you just click on this little button here. Okay. All right, if you need to go to default background colors, like say you've been playing around with reds and yellows and those kinds of things, and you want to just go back to black and white, you just click this little black and white swatch here and it'll reset everything for you. Okay, on the right hand side, you've got a set of basic panels over here. You'll see color here at the very beginning, and if you click in this area, you will be able to change the first color swatch. You can also click on the color slider, and that will give you different options as well. And you just click anywhere to select the color that you want to. Notice that it updates the color here, and it also updates the color over here. If you go to your swatches panel, this is going to give you a set of basic swatches. So if you just open these up, you can see grayscale colors, you can see pastel colors. It's just a nice way to get some simple colors to start. We will not be working with gradients right now, but there are some basic gradients in here. You can always play around with those. And there are also patterns. Again, we will not be working with those for these classes, but you have some different options in here as well. I'm going to leave my swatches open because that tends to be someplace that I tend to live a lot. I'm just going to close these guys up by clicking on this arrow. All right. Now, in your properties panel, this is where you're going to spend a lot of time. For example, if I wanted to create a square, I'm going to come over to the rectangle tool. I'm going to click on it and just drag it out on the screen. And you'll see that I have a stroke set on it in a red color. My stroke is 8 pixels wide, okay? 8 pixels wide, but I don't have a fill. Pretend that you do want to fill. There are a couple of places that you can change the color of the inside of this rectangle. You can come up here and choose a swatch, which is fun, okay? And you can also come down here and choose a different swatch. That is also fun. I am going to get rid of the stroke, and you do that by clicking on the stroke and then coming down to the white box with the red line through it and click that. If you should ever need to get rid of a fill, you can do the same thing. You just click on that and you would click on the white box with the red line through it. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to show you. We're not going to go into adjustments for now. We're not going to go into libraries for now. I do want you to come down to the layers panel because layers are very, very important. If you think about the image of people putting their hands on top of each other, that's an idea of layering, okay? See, pretend you've got 3 people and they put all 6 of their hands on top of one another. So the bottom hand can't be seen very well. the top hand is seen quite well. The same thing happens inside of your layers panel. Let me show you. So this is my first layer. This is rectangle 1. I'm going to create a second layer by clicking on this plus icon. And now you can see that I have layer 1, another layer 1 right here. I'm going to go get another, let's get an ellipse this time. And I will drag this out. Let's change that color. And I'm going to make it a nice pink. And I'm going to get rid of that stroke as well. This ellipse is sitting on top of the rectangle, like those hands were sitting on top of each other in my example. So this is the top layer and this is the bottom layer. If you want to change that fact, you can. You can simply click and drag rectangle 1 up to the top. And now you'll see that it's sitting on top of my pink rectangle. Okay. You can also change the names here. So instead of calling this rectangle, I could call this square if I wanted to. And instead of calling this ellipse, I could call this an oval. That is just fine. Now, another really cool thing is that you can name your artboard. If you double click on that, and I'm going to type in demo for Photoshop, the name here changes, but also the name up here in the top left corner changes as well. That's going to have an impact when you save out these images. Let's go ahead and save these just for fun. If you would please go up to File. That's a little bit off my screen, but I'm clicking on File, and I want you to come down to Save to start this thing off. And we're going to save this as Photoshop Demo 1. You've got a couple of places that you can save it. It automatically wants to save it to my Creative Cloud account, but I want to save mine on my computer just because. So I'm going to save it on my computer, and then you just have to navigate to where you want it to save. I'm going to put it on my desktop. It is going to be saved as a PSD file. PSD stands for Photoshop Document, and that's what we want to start with. Photoshop documents are not the file that you want to put up on the web. Those kinds of files are your JPEGs, your PNGs, your GIFs. So let me show you how to save out one of those files. Go up to File again. In the upper left-hand corner, again, mine is off screen. And this time, come down to File, Save As. Excuse me. Yep. Sorry, my bad. File, Export. When you export your file, then you're going to get more of those options that you're looking for. You can quickly export this as a PNG file, also known as a PNG. I'm going to choose Export As to get more options. Now this is quite large, so I'm going to get this down a little bit here. In the upper right-hand corner, you have your file settings. So if you click on the drop-down, you'll see that you can now choose it to be saved as a JPEG or as a GIF. The cool thing about GIFs is that they support animations. You've heard of animated GIFs, right? PNG files also support transparencies, as well as GIFs support transparencies. JPEGs, these guys are what you want whenever you have a photo that is photorealistic. Like if you take a snapshot of somebody outside in nature, that is a photo of a real setting, photorealistic. So whenever you have something complicated like that, you definitely want to choose JPEG. This image is very simple, so I'm going to leave that set to PNG, and we can leave these other things set alone. You can scale it if you wish, which is really nice. Okay. You've got some options for resampling. When you make an image larger or smaller, that's called resampling. And down at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and click Export. So you can see that it's going to be named as PNG. I'm going to put it on my desktop and then click Save. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed our very first tutorial inside of Photoshop. I will see you in the next video.